and it's all about TikTok. So, according to an executive order signed by President Trump, U.S. businesses must cease transactions with ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, starting on September 20th. All this stems from the continuing concern that the data collected by TikTok could be used by the Chinese government to track U.S. citizens, conduct blackmail, commit corporate espionage, and a number of other related issues. Now, the demand has already been in place that ByteDance sell off its U.S. operations, and the September 20th date is significant because September 15th is the deadline that Microsoft gave itself for acquiring TikTok from ByteDance. There's speculation whether they want its whole worldwide operations or just a few select countries like the U.S. and Canada. However, TikTok has responded with an extensive blog post that states, in part, that the order would risk, quote, undermining global businesses' trust in the United States' commitment to the rule of law, unquote. So this is even being reported that Mark Zuckerberg said at a Facebook meeting that the executive order would set a really bad long-term precedent. So there's that. There's also a separate executive order that also calls for the end of WeChat, which is used by millions of people around the world for messaging, particularly from the US to Chinese citizens, where other messaging apps are banned. They're banned in China, so WeChat is used. WeChat is owned by Tencent, which has stakes in Epic Games, Reddit, Spotify, and a bunch of other companies, although it is stated that WeChat is the only one of its properties that's being targeted. Going back to TikTok, they have also threatened a lawsuit over the executive order, and there's no sign that this whole thing is going to get better over these next coming days, so expect it to get messier. There's a lot on the way. Read all about it at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on here with trending news on this Friday. There is another tech fight heating up, but this one has been going on for years. Now Facebook is jumping into the fray. So the Apple App Store has been frequently criticized by a number of people and businesses, even Congress, during the antitrust hearing for its potential practices of suppressing competition. Facebook is implying it's now a victim of this since it launched its Facebook gaming app for iOS, but it doesn't have any games on it. So Facebook said it's been trying since April to get the app into the store and finally was able to get it through, but only because it removed the streaming game functionality from it, which kind of defeats the purpose. Microsoft has also been upset over the fact that Project xCloud has not even been allowed in the App Store, as well as Google with Stadia. Now, Apple stated they won't allow cloud gaming in the store because they said they can't review each game that these apps offer and can't individually rank them on the App Store. However, competitors say it's more likely because they also don't get a cut of the revenue from games sold within apps. Facebook's COO Sheryl Sandberg said, unfortunately, we had to remove gameplay functionality entirely in order to get Apple's approval on the standalone Facebook gaming app, meaning iOS users have an inferior experience to those using Android. So this is another battle that's bound to continue until some kind of an arrangement is probably made, but you can keep up to date with it at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with trending news. Have you been getting the Google Plus class action lawsuit emails? Well, if you have, you're not alone. A lot of people have been concerned that it's a scam, and I can say that the lawsuit is not a scam. So, if you had a Google Plus account between January 1st, 2015 and April 2nd, 2019, and you're from the United States, you can register for a payout if you think you were impacted by a security flaw that Google disclosed in 2018. Now, not a lot of people were on Google Plus, but there was a flaw that may have allowed advertisers to access more personal information about users. So Google made it public when they found out, they quickly took care of it, and then they just shuttered the entire thing because Google Plus, again, did not have a lot of people on it. However, the class action lawsuit will let you file a claim for part of the $7.5 million that has been set aside. Now, each class action member, which could be you, is eligible for a payout of $12 after all the attorney's fees, and it could be as low as $5 if a lot of people file. But the bottom line is, no, the class action lawsuit is not a scam, it's real. There are actual emails going out about this, but there are probably some spam ones as well, so as always, be careful on clicking any links. If the email address ends in google.com, it's probably legitimate, but either way, you have until October 8th to register if you so choose to. Read all about it at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on here with trending news, let's talk about SpaceX. Yet another launch to send up Starlink satellites, and this one just a little bit different. They not only sent up Starlink satellites, they also sent up something called a Black Sky satellite, which is a company based out of Seattle that does geospace intelligence gathering. Now, back to the Starlink side of things, this brings their total up to 595 satellites as they attempt to bring satellite internet to North America and then eventually the world. They're starting with the U.S. is what they said, so we'll see where we go from there. But 595 up there right now. And these new ones have a little bit of a different twist to them. Now, the astronomy community has been very upset with these satellites because of the fact that they reflect sunlight back, they mess up telescopes, they really have been causing some problems for them. So SpaceX has responded. Now, these ones that have come up will have a new visor that's attached to them. So that's supposed to reduce the brightness of the sun's reflection. There's a few different things they're going to be trying out to try to stop that reflection from coming back, and this is one of them. So this visor is going to be part of it. There's another one where there's a specific kind of paint. They also talked about maybe angling them different, but this is what they're trying with this batch to see if that kind of mitigates some of those issues. But again, Starlink sending up some more satellites, bringing their total to 595. And they said they're going to continue on doing this. So there's also the possibility that test accounts for Starlink Internet could be starting up any time. They actually have a place where you can go register for it. And then if you're selected, you could be one of the ones who gets to try this out. And you can do that, too, from their website. But read more about Starlink and SpaceX at digitaltrends.com. All right, and one more trending story here. This is maybe a sign of things to come. The robots are going to help us with COVID. So here's what's happening. SoftBank Robotics, has a robot named Pepper. Now, Pepper's been around for a while, and it's being utilized in Europe in a lot of places. So to help slow the spread of COVID-19, countries like France are requiring people to wear masks in closed public spaces. We've seen this in a lot of other places as well, but this is one thing they're doing. So to help people remember to do that, Pepper is what's being utilized. So if you're not familiar with Pepper, it's not as prominent in the United States, but around the world, actually, these robots are utilized for a number of things, either greeters at stores, they could be desk clerks, they provide directions in airports, and what it has on it is a way to scan faces. So it's an image recognition software. I want to say this really quick. SoftBank did say they're not scanning the faces to keep that data, but it can recognize that faces are in front of it, and it can recognize whether somebody's wearing a mask or not. So it uses this AI to take a look at it. It can identify even the complex patterns of face masks, and if you are standing in front of it, it'll pick up to 5 faces, and it'll give you a nice green circle if you have the mask, but it'll put a red one around you if you don't have the mask, and it will remind you in its robot voice that you need to put a mask on. So that is something they're going to use. So they said that businesses could use this to even analyze how many people throughout the day go through their business that aren't wearing masks, what they can do to try to change some of that. And, the robots are bound to take over anyway. So if they're going to help us out with COVID, I guess the robot apocalypse might as well start now. Read more about it at digitaltrends.com.